This episode is sponsored by Lupton Capital, which provides a variety of investment services to both retail and institutional investors on platforms such as Seeking Alpha, Substack, and StockTwits. For more information on these services or for links to those services, please visit luptoncapital.com. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Investing with the Whales podcast. My name is Jonah Lupton. Great to be here today with my next guest, who I've known for a couple of years, thanks to Twitter. It is Dan Ushman from TrendSpider. Dan, how are you?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on. It's good to be here.
Thanks for being here. And I know you've spoken to a couple of my conferences and sponsored some stuff as well. So thank you for that. So I've been a big fan of TrendSpider for, I guess it feels like at least 2 years at this point. I use it every day, all day. Can't imagine my life without it. So congratulations on building, in my opinion, the best charting software out there. But you guys have also built a new product called SignalStack, correct?
We have.
So, I mean, we can talk about TrendSpider as well, and I'm sure we probably will, but talk to us about what is SignalStack? Why'd you guys buy it? How long, or build it? Why'd you build it? I know you built it internally, took a year and a half. So what was your reasoning for building it?
Yeah, it's a good way to start too. So look, I've traded since about 2008. And one thing that I realized that I think everybody realizes is that retail traders are very disadvantaged. And this is why TrendSpider exists, right? And there's a long backstory of trying to build a bot that led me into TrendSpider in the first place. But then it gets me thinking, like, how are we disadvantaged? Well, one of the ways is we're human, right? So we will react to things emotionally, and we'll react to things slowly. We'll hesitate, right? So like when traders say things like plan to trade the plan, right? Very few are actually physically like capable as people of doing that, right? Like you may be disciplined, but you may be distracted. You may be driving when your alert goes off. You may simply not get to your screen fast enough, right? There's a
lot of traders have other full-time jobs.
Yeah, you may be in a meeting, you may be at the store, things come up, and that is not the case when you look at the professional trading world. If you look at a bank trade desk or a hedge fund, almost exclusively, not completely, but there's almost no discretionary decision being made in the moment. They're not staring at 10 different screens like we are, and for the purpose of watching a chart and then buying the minute price hits a certain level. That's just not how they trade. They're very systemic about it. So TrendSpider is all about, the TrendSpider product is all about helping people come up with strategies, find and analyze opportunities, and time their trades. SignalStack is the execution part that plugs into it. It's under a different name because it works with TradingView. It works with any other tool out there that can send a webhook, which is almost anything on the web. You could actually rig like a Staples easy button to buy stock when you hit it with this thing.
What is a webhook, just for people that aren't familiar with that term?
It's a way that you send a signal from one system to another by copy and pasting a string, right? So it's like a website address. It's like signalstack.com / a bunch of numbers. You copy and paste that into an alert in TrendSpider, TradingView, or whatever. And then you can also copy and paste this thing called the payload, right? Or the body. The webhook is tied to a brokerage account that you've connected on the back end, and the body tells it what to do. Right. So, like I use it with stop losses a lot. I use anchored VWAPs as stops, right? I put a buffer around them, and I want to know if price breaks the lower band on it. And if it does, I just want to close my position. This lets me just set that alert up and say, when this happens, close my position. So SignalStack's the execution part. And the way that it works is you first create a SignalStack account. Then you log into it and you connect your brokerage and crypto exchanges. There's, I believe, 24 supported brokers right now, including TD, E-Trade, TradeStation, Coinbase, like all the big ones, interactive brokers. They're all connected. And we're adding probably 3 to 5 new brokers a month, right? Or exchanges. So you connect them, you do the OAuth authentication thing. So you don't share a password, you either copy and paste an API key or use OAuth, and then it's connected. And then you just click generate webhook and you just copy and paste that into whatever platform you're using to trigger your trade. We've got users who trigger trades with Apple's script, I think it's called, that looks for a newsletter email they get that mentions particular tickers and just like buy 100 shares of all of them. So you can use it in a variety of ways, but it's that plumbing that lets retail people do that last thing that they couldn't do, which is trigger trades automatically.
So let's say you like buying stocks when they pull back to their 21-day EMA, 50-day EMA, and you have 20 or 30 stocks on your watch list that you'd like to own if they pull back to those moving averages. Is that something you can use SignalStack for to create trades, essentially get you into a position if that pullbacks happens? And then what happens, those moving averages, they move every day. So if the 21-day EMA is at, let's just call it $30 today, in a few days, it might be up at, might be another $1 higher. So how does the trade work, or how does the alert work as the moving averages move around?
So SignalStack is just the router, right? So it's I like to call it a really dumb computer program. Like, it's not dumb, but it's software that does really one thing. It listens for an instruction to a designated webhook, and then it forwards that to the broker. It transliterates your human kind of friendly instructions into an order ticket. It fills it, it catches an error if there's, and it lets you know what happened. It doesn't know anything about moving averages. That's up to whatever signal or system you're triggering it from. So it might be an alert in TrendSpider where you say, alert me when the 50 EMA crosses the 200, right? Or it might be an alert in TradingView, or whatever tool you're using. Whatever way you can set up an alert, you can then make that alert point at SignalStack as well. In another way, it's like saying, instead of just letting me know, let me know and place the order.
Gotcha. Okay. So how do you use it?
I use it a couple of ways. So I use it, I mentioned, for stop losses. I like to I like to put bands around anchored VWAPs, right? So it's like the anchored VWAP, and then there's like volatility bands or percentage bands around it. And I like to trigger stop losses, like get out if I'm trading something above that's near it, right, on that bottom band. And then I run some full bots, right? I run a Donchian channel strategy. I'll send you a screenshot of the conditions. It's really interesting.
You can share your screen right now if you want.
I don't have it pulled up. I didn't think I was sharing screens, so I don't want to.
Yeah, I was just know if you want to share anything, just let me know and I can give you the privileges.
Okay. I'll send you screenshots this time. Next time, if you want, I can actually walk you through it. But I run a bot in TrendSpider. TrendSpider has the ability to create a back test conditions against the market using 50 years of historical data. And if you like that, you can actually push a single button, launch as a trading bot. That opens a window, and you can then copy and paste webhook and payloads into it for entry and exit signals. And then you can put it on autopilot. So I have a strategy that trades a dual Donchian channel. I call it a crawl, right? But it's when the fast Donchian's top level is riding along with the slow Donchian's top level. That's the entry signal, and the opposite on the exit. And I trade it on leveraged ETFs, right? So like SPXL, TQQQ, right? Any triple or double leverage bullish ETF, like an index ETF. Those are the two primary ones that I focus it on. And I don't want to be sitting there watching this all the time. And a bot is great because it's like an alert that never expires. It is fully aware of whether or not it's in a position, right? So if it's in a position, it's not going to trigger another entry, signal, right? It's going to wait for an exit. And I mean, these things have been running for months now, right? They've been really choppy lately. I'm not saying it's the best strategy.
Well,
like
it's a tough market too.
Yes, but over a long period of time, right? If you just stick to it, the data strongly suggests that they have a lot of alpha relative to the asset itself. So I've been running that. I will try to pull it up because I feel bad talking about it.
Let me let you share your screen. Whoops.
So if you can let me share my screen, I will pull this up.
Yep, you should be able to now.
So let's see, share screen. Let me know if you can see this.
Looks like it's coming up now. Yep, I got it.
All right, cool. So I'll reset this. So this is the strategy, right? It's super duper simple. It runs in the 30-minute chart. It looks for a 3-period Donchian channel and a 13-period, not random numbers.
What's a Donchian channel? I've never even heard of that before.
It's an old school indicator from the 70s.
Okay.
So this is not my strategy. I did not come up with this, but I'll plot it on the chart here. And let me get rid of the middle line because we don't actually pay attention to that at all.
Donchian, is that like the name of the guy that came up with it?
Yes, I believe so. So it looks like this, right? I'll get rid of my anchored VWAP here. auto anchored. So it's just basically range, right? So it's the range that resets after a certain amount of time. So like this was the low for 13 candles forward, it will stay there, and then it's going to start moving up. It's a very simple indicator. The strategy is also super simple, right? It's going to look to enter when the lower fast has rose up off the lower slow, and the upper fast is touching the upper slow, right? And it's only going to exit on the reverse of that, or a 4% stop loss, right? So when you run this is, by the way, SPXL. It's a triple leverage bullish S&P 500 ETF, right? It'll show you on the chart when you entered and exited trades, right? This is the strategy. So green exit arrows mean I made money, red ones mean I would have lost money, right? And lets you visually see how it works. And TrendSpider does something cool at the end here, right? If it ends on an open position, it shows you the likely path based on the past trades that it will take. So it's likely going to keep doing this blue line thing here, right? And I can see its performance. Blue is my buy sell strategy. White is the is buy and hold, right? You can see that it outperforms quite a bit, 3 times better, right? You return 98% versus 35%. So if I want to launch this as a bot, like let's say I like this strategy. I do like this strategy. I usually run it without the stop loss, probably to my detriment. We can remove the stop loss and see what happens there. I feel like it makes it better, but I could be wrong. But in any case, let's say we like this strategy. It makes it worse. That's why I was there. We can click launch as a trading bot, which opens this dialog and lets us make this strategy not back test, but forward test, right? So it doesn't have to place trades. We're probably going to rename trading bots because it's scaring people away because they don't realize it doesn't have to trade. It's just a bot that follows a strategy and issues entry and exit signals. Those can be a text message, an email. They can be a post to Twitter, a Discord post, or they can be a command sent to SignalStack to place an order, right? And then you would just copy and paste your payload into these boxes here. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Now, this is just a back test. Have you actually applied this strategy with a, with real money and actively using it in any portfolio?
Yeah. So I mentioned it's been choppy. Let me turn the back tester off.
And can you use this, like, let's just say you have, let's just say you have $100,000 in your Interactive Brokers portfolio. Can you use that strategy on a portion of that 100,000, or does it have to be used on the entire 100,000?
No, you can define in your alert how many shares to buy, how many contracts to buy, and so forth. What you're seeing in yellow here, by the way, is what a running bot looks like, right? So like there's 2 areas where you can see a running bot. One of them is in the sidebar here. I have to add the widget for it. So bear with me for a second. Remove some stuff and add trading bots, right? So you can see the bots I have running. Not all of these are pointed at brokerage accounts. Some of them are, some of them aren't. And you can see which ones are active and in a position. Like this one is in a position right now, right? And if you hover your mouse over this one, you can see the last 5 signals. You can copy and paste this if you want, but it tells you like last time it checked the bot, last signals that it issued, right, and so forth. But it'll also keep them on the chart so you can watch them. And this is part of like the enterprise level of the way the strategy tester and the bots work. You'll notice if I run the same strategy again, they're going to line up, right? I call this one strategy 1. They're gonna basically align with the entry and exit markers on the chart. They're going to overlap one another. And that's how the system knows if the strategy is sane, right? And sane means that the historical data hasn't changed that the strategy is based on. Because few people understand just how messy market data is, and the exchanges retroactively repaint previous candles all the time. So if your strategy was based on previous history that NYSE has decided to change, maybe because a block trade wasn't reported or whatever reason, right? It will break your strategy. The bot will actually stop automatically, right? And say, hey, something changed. You should look at this before you turn it back on, right? So this is meant to be institutional grade, right? It's meant to be so that a hedge fund can use it. We're actually talking to a number of hedge funds about this particular functionality, because it's not just the ability to automate strategies, it's the ability for their traders to develop strategies, explore them and experiment with them. And then they can do whatever they want with them, right? It's a very fast way. Right now, they write a lot of code to test ideas.
So let's say you're the kind of trader, you like buying breakouts, horizontal breakouts above recent highs, resistance levels, and when the market's going great, you might have 10, 12, 15, 20 of those breakouts every day. You can't be staring at 10, 12, 15 different screens at the same time and catch them all at the right time. So I assume you can use bots to help you, or signals to help you catch some of those breakouts at the same time, right?
Yeah, so you can use SignalStack throughout TrendSpider using any alert. A bot is one type of alert, right? It's a position-aware bi-directional alert that never expires, right? That's what a bot is in the background. There's other types of alerts, right? Like I just drew this diagonal line. I can also draw a horizontal one, right? And then I can right-click on this horizontal one and say, hey, alert me when price breaks through. I can put a buffer zone around it or not, or maybe price touches a buffer zone around it, right? I can visually define an alert. This works in indicators, trend lines, horizontal levels, whatever you can see on your chart. And then I can paste a payload for a webhook into the note field here, right? It'll validate it if it's valid JSON, and it'll send it to your SignalStack URL. You can figure it out in the settings for this type of bot, but you can do the same exact thing. So you can use this to automate your manual trading, even if you don't want to fully automate a strategy like I was showing you with the Donchian channels. Like that's an indicator-based strategy. If you're a price action or a trend line trader, you may want to do it in a different way, right? This is one way, by just visually creating the alerts on your chart, because you can create an alert on this diagonal level here. It's going to change every day, right? Like the level is going to get lower and lower and lower. You never have to adjust it. You can just say when price decides to break through this, anytime in the next, call it 96 days or whatever number of days you want to pick, let me know, right? And place an order. So it gives you the ability to automate the stuff you would otherwise do by hand. And that's a big kind of theme throughout the TrendSpider / SignalStack suite. Almost everything in here is meant to automate things that people otherwise have to do by hand.
And when you're placing an order, is it placing a market order or a specific price?
So in SignalStack, you can specify, right? I won't go into like the account of SignalStack because it's really honestly too simple to look at. But you can decide on a market order, a limit order, a stop order. We'll very soon add additional order types like I don't know, all or nothing, fill on close, right? Like there's a gazillion different types of orders. Different brokers support different ones. We're going to support them all. You just adjust the payload, which is like the JSON that you get when you copy and paste to specify an order type. In TrendSpider, it's going to get a lot easier. Like we're going to get rid of the whole copy and pasting thing pretty soon. When you add a SignalStack URL in, it'll give you just boxes to fill in what you want it to do. But for now, you copy and paste payload and then you tweak it, right, to tell it what to do. You can also trigger orders that what am I looking for? That like combination like stop limit, right, where it's like two order types combined, or stop market, right? Like you can mix those together as well.
How are some of the other guys on the TrendSpider team using this? Because I mean, you guys, I know you have a pretty big team now at TrendSpider, right?
We've got about almost 30 people right now.
Okay. Are some of them using this as well?
Yeah, a number of them are. I don't want to mention names or positions, right? But we have one team member he's here because he's been a bot trader for a long time. The guy did really well during the crypto pumps. He's got bots to trade Ethereum and Bitcoin. And he used there's a couple products like this in the crypto world, right? So like he used, I think, Alertatron or something for that in crypto to power his bots. This has allowed him to take those strategies and apply them to equities too, right? So like he's expanded what he's trading because he can now do this with equities, not just crypto. So that's a cool use case. He has a strategy that I don't fully understand. It does not trade frequently. It's like a long, slow swing bot. Like it'll go months between trades. So he has a lot of patience, but because of that, he doesn't want to stare at the screen all day, right? Like it's not making decisions frequently. It's making them when the opportunity is there and only then.
So pull up, I have a couple stocks in mind that bounced off some moving averages today, and I wish I had caught them. So pull up a stock 4, F-O-U-R.
Shift 4. Which moving average? I'll add it.
20. I think it bounced off at 21 or 23 today.
EMA or?
Yeah, EMA.
So I'll make that a 21.
Let me just double check.
And let me get rid of some of these other indicators. Too much stuff on my screen. Yeah, it looks like it bounced off the 21 EMA right there.
So how would I use SignalStack to create an alert or make sure that if it bounced off the 21, I started a position, but if it sliced through, I got out of that position, with, let's say, a 1.5% loss.
Yeah, so you would right click on it, create alert at this line. You would select bounce and read the definition. And you could use a buffer zone here if you wanted to.
Okay.
Because a buffer zone is like plus or minus a certain amount of pennies on each side, or none at all. Right. And read the definition. A bounce is when triggered when price touches the line but does not break through it on the next candle. Right. So this would trigger a bounce, and you would have triggered here if you had set up an alert like this. Remember, this is a daily chart and a daily EMA. TrendSpider alerts fire when the candle closes. So you might want to fire this sooner than that. So you would switch this confirmation candle to like an intraday time period.
Gotcha.
Pick 12 or 15 or something like that. And then you would copy and paste in the note field the JSON from SignalStack. Are you releasing this live, or are you post editing it?
Post editing it.
Okay, so I can do a few things and you can blur them out.
Yeah, if you need to.
Okay, because like I can show you like this, but it's going to show my phone number too.
Oh, okay.
Right? But like in account settings, right? You would paste your SignalStack URL here.
Okay.
Right. This is the number that I would like you to blur out. But like you do that, and then any alert that you set up will direct to that webhook address. We're going to make that a little slicker later. But in any case, you would say alert me on a bounce, and then you would copy and paste your SignalStack JSON into there. There might be something for you to blur here. No, I don't want to log in right now. But you would copy and paste your JSON here. Your JSON is basically something like symbol is 4, quantity is 100 shares, action is buy. It looks something like that.
Okay.
Right? So you just paste that in and adjust the shares and the symbol, and that's it. You just create this alert, and it would sit there and watch it until this happened, and then it would tell SignalStack to buy what you told it to buy right there.
And because we're using a moving average, as the moving average changes from day to day, the alert will sort of change with it, right?
Yes, it'll follow it. It'll follow it wherever it goes for as long as the alert is set up to last. And that's just one type of alert. That's called a dynamic alert.
See,
right.
Like I feel like those are happening all day long, and I catch some of them. Like in this market, this is such a tricky market for a position trader because it's just so freaking choppy that you get stopped out of your stuff all the time. That's what's happening to me. But sometimes you get these, these big, I don't know, morning flushes, and something bounces off of a moving average. And I look, I'm looking at the charts of the day, and I'm like, oh shit, I wish I'd caught that. Pull up another stock, Tidewater, TDW. So I've started buying this one the last couple of weeks. I'm bullish on it longer term, but if you throw on the 100-day SMA,
it's an EMA, but it should be close.
Had a perfect bounce off the 100-day SMA on Friday.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And you could do that, right? By just setting an alert.
What line is this? Is that the EMA?
Yeah, that's 100 EMA.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. So the 100 SMA is just below it. So I had a perfect bounce off that on Friday.
I'll add that one too.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That is perfect. Yeah. And like, look, I'm curious, is it actually perfect, or is it super close? No, it's perfect.
It's pretty perfect.
Wow. So a lot of times it's like super close, but it's just a penny off. Right. And like, if you set up the alert as a bounce with no buffer zone at all, it won't trigger because it didn't directly touch that line.
Right. So you should always use a small buffer, right?
Yeah. If you're using a buffer, I always say use a small one. Depends on how conscious you are to getting a perfect fill. I use usually like a decent sized one, like, something that gives me a little bit of wiggle room, because traders are always watching the charts. They're watching that 100 EM or SMA, right? They're trying to jump ahead of each other.
And in many ways, we're competing against the algos, that the hedge funds are using, that are built by these extremely smart PhDs. So, it's, we're at the point now where we have to start using some of this stuff to our advantage in order to stay competitive.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Most of those extremely smart PhDs, right? They don't have a way to develop strategies and visually do things like this. They have to sit down and write code, right? They have to write Python that says, hey, what would happen if we bought when the EMA touched or price bounced off the SMA, right? Or whatever. And then they have to test it and tweak their code over and over. Like in some ways, like our mission is to level the playing field. But in some ways, I feel like we may be taking it a little bit further. I mean, I know there's a lot of tools that professional trade desks have that we'll never have, right? Primarily around access to data. But in terms of strategy creation, in particular technical strategies, they all trade them and use them, right? But they develop them in a very manual and tedious way.
And then say I wanted to sell the stock, if it's sliced through the 100-day SMA, let's say 1%, 1.5% stop loss. How would I set up that?
So a few ways. You could just create like a simple alert on this that says, hey, on a breakthrough, make it precise, right? And then put your exit command in there. You could also like throw bands on it or use a trailing stop indicator. There is actually, let's see if I can show you this. I believe, yeah, so trailing stop long anchored, right? And you then customize this indicator with a percentage loss that you can then set a stop loss on this.
Oh, wow.
You can even put bands around it. So there, you would use like an indicator, some way to express that stop loss and then throw an alert on that.
Cool.
Personally, like I hate flat stops. So I would use like something like an ATR trailing stop or some kind of volatility stop. I don't know if you're familiar with volatility.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, like a volatility stop looks something like this, right? Where it's taking into account either the standard deviation in this case, or in the case of an ATR trailing stop, the average true range. But it's giving you a slightly more dynamic stop that's a little more responsive, that can still be a risk mitigator. But there's a variety of ways to do that. When I do automated strategies, I'll often use a trailing stop as a profit taker, right? So I'll use both. And when you're doing automated strategies, you can do cool things, right? So you can say like, I'll pull up my example one, or sorry, my strategy one again, right? But then we can say like add a stop loss where we get out after 1.5%, or at a take profit where we get out after a certain number of percent, and have those kind of automatically follow. But we can also do it another way, right? Where it's a little more dynamic. I'll show you.
Meaning if I had a signal set up to buy TDW, if it bounced at the 100-day, I could then have another signal to start taking profits at 5%.
Yeah, but you can do it in an interesting way, right? So like you can look at this thing right here. This is called a price behavior explorer, right? And I'll hide some of this random stuff on this so you don't have to see them, right? So there's two different clouds here. One's a red cloud and one's a green cloud. These are showing you from entry the path that your winning and your losing trades took separately. You can then look at the overlap here. This is green overlapping red. Trades that turn around and become profitable, that start off as a losers, usually don't go any lower than about 3.5%, right? And that low point is usually like 8 or 10 candles in. So you can then go back to your strategy and go down here and say, add a candles past exit that exits after 8 candles. But only if the P&L is, let's say, less than 4% or whatever.
Okay.
Right. So you can get kind of fancy here with your logic, and you can use these graphs to like optimize a strategy, right? Like we just curve fit the strategy. The numbers will get better. It will win more than 80% now. Right now it's performing 15% better, 94% versus 39. So you can like use this to develop a strategy, tweak it and refine it, and then deploy it in a way that is slicker than any hedge fund out there.
I was just going to say, like, why are hedge funds paying all these PhDs when they could just use something like this? I mean, I know there's a lot more to it than.
There's a lot more to it, and they use complex data that we don't have access to, right? So like they still have their role, and they do the way they do it because that's how they have to. The point I'm trying to make though is retail people could never do any of this. None of it.
Does this work with options as well?
So SignalStack can trade options, equities, ETFs, and futures. There's some nuance to each of those. Options, you have to specify currently the exact contract. by using the CUSIP ID.
Oh yeah, right.
Right. So you got to copy and paste that into it when you're saying, like, instead of buy Apple, you're saying buy this options contract.
And you can probably only do it with options with the really big stocks that have a lot of options volume. Because like I'm thinking TDW probably has almost no options volume. You'd probably never get anything ordered, I mean executed. You'd have just a massive.
And market orders don't work on options, right?
Okay.
So you gotta specify kind of like a price, which makes trading options difficult. We're gonna fix that, right? Where you'll be able to say things like, when this trigger signal goes off, I want to trade Apple. I want to express it by buying call options, and I want to buy options that are 4 strikes outside of in the money or at the money, right? So you would like define it a little bit more dynamically, because the options market moves very fast, and the way it's set up right now isn't great for options. It's really good for futures and equities and ETFs and crypto, right? Because you're buying something like that's not a derivative. It's not so great with derivatives like options right now.
Okay.
That will be fixed though pretty soon. Like we are actively working on that.
I mean, it's just a lot of stock. I mean, I probably spend 3 or 4 hours a day going through charts, and I see so many stocks. I'm thinking in the back of my head, oh man, I'd love to start a position in that stock if it bounced off the 50-day, the 100-day. But like you can't catch every bounce every day.
And look,
but
another
bots can.
Another thing you can do, right, is you can see how good that idea of buying those bounces even is, right? Like you can back test that. You can say, hey, what happens if you were using the SMA 100? Right. If price bounced off to SMA 500, you bought it and then you sell 30 candles later. Right. So you can see exactly what that would look like. And you can go back quite a bit into the past and calculate that. Right. If it looks good, you can then launch it as a bot. Like this is on SPXL. What symbol are you talking about? 4?
Yeah, 4. 4 bounced off the 21-day today.
4 was the 21. Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can. So the 100 doesn't work on 4, but you can change it to the 21, right? And you can just see, like, I buy one to 21 bounces, I sell 30 candles later. What's going to happen? This is on the 30-minute chart, but you can see like blue is the performance of your buy and sell rules, and this background is buy and hold, and the colors on this background are when you were in a position and made or lost money. So let's you quickly visualize, like, yeah, this doesn't perform as well during pumps, but it seems to be more stable and steady, right? Like I'm not dealing with this huge drawdown, which you can also add, like you can see your drawdown from highs, right? Still pretty high, 23%. But then you can go in and optimize this, right? You can say, all right, how should I tweak this, right? Maybe I should say like, 6% stop loss, and you can then add that in there and keep testing it until you find a strategy that seems to be more consistent and reliable. Then you can actually go trade it, right? This is why I say, like, people suck at planning trades and trading plans, right? Because they don't have a way to actually develop plans in the first place. And then they don't have the confidence in those plans to actually follow them strictly.
Wow. I mean, it's still like it's still overwhelming to someone like me that's never used bots or signals before. I'm just trying to digest all this information as quickly as possible, and it's a lot. I mean, I'm sure you have to get in there and start playing around. I mean, obviously, your way around the website.
Yeah, I'm cheating a bit of years. Just so you know, it's not just technicals, right? We're adding non-technicals in. You can now backtest analysts. You can say like, hey, when this particular analyst upgrades a stock, right? What happens if you buy when he upgrades, or any upgrade or any downgrade or any hold, right? Like you can backtest that. We're adding news backtesting. So you can say like, when a government investigation was like, or whatever. And you can also do earnings dates, dividend dates, splits dates, X dates, right? Like there's all kinds of stuff that you can backtest. It's only going to get deeper and more robust.
How about like gap ups? When a stock gap ups.
Easy. You can do that right now. You would just do condition price close is greater than price close. You would change this to 1 candle go, or you do open, right? So you want to buy the gap up, and then you can click here, these little 3 dots, and add by at least 1%.
Gotcha.
Right? And then you can say like exit. You can add an exit condition, or you can test this, and you can just see what would happen if you bought only when stock gapped up 1% on the following candle, right? You would have only traded twice in the last month. How many times did this happen in the last like 10,000 candles? Let's see. Yeah, I mean, you're kind of technically better off buying holding than this particular strategy.
But like you said, you can tweak the strategy until you get the numbers you want.
Yeah, exactly. You can also trade it a little differently. You can say like buy when that happens, but only exit with a trailing 1.5% stop loss, right? And we can see that performs even worse. But like this is the beauty of it, right? Like how many people find a strategy on YouTube or some guy on Twitter talking about it and go blindly trade it without taking the time to just see if it works, right? Like for most people, blindly trading is the only way to see if it works.
How many people, I mean, I don't even know if you have an answer for this question. How many people are opening up this stuff and not actually executing, like not getting through the, setting up a bot and executing, or there's probably a pretty steep learning curve, right?
Yeah, it's a progression. People take time to get comfortable with it. You can set up a bot to just be alerts, right? It doesn't have to trade. That's what most people do.
Right.
They don't add the webhook in right away. We have something like, and this is an astonishingly high number given how small of a business we are. We have something like 70,000 backtests run a day. Wow. Right? Backtesting is like the second most popular feature after scanning, right? It's incredibly fun and addictive to play with. We have one user, we've been watching him because like, we don't understand how it's possible. This guy runs like 400 backtests a day, right? Like a day. It's insane. And I kind of chalked it off to, it's kind of gamified.
What,
like once you get the
running them, he's running them on different strategies that he's developed.
I have no idea what we don't. So like for privacy reasons, we don't actually see what strategies users run.
Okay.
So I don't know if he's using his own strategy, if he's using our tested strategies, if he's just tweaking the same strategy over and over, or running the same strategy on a million different symbols. I don't know what is within that usage. I just know he runs a lot of backtests. But we gamify it a bit, right? Like in this tabular area, it'll highlight things and tell you if you're improving or getting worse.
Right.
So like once you start kind of tuning into this, you can see, oh shit, when it's highlighted like red like this, it means that there's no way for you to make money if that continues. Right. With all the other values, a 40% win rate is a losing proposition with this strategy, right? So just telling you that's a no-go. Don't even try. Right. A lot of times you won't see a lot of that, right? And in those cases, right, it's other things that you can tweak. Like I'll show you what that looks like, right? Like this is just running a flat strategy. Nothing is highlighted as no-go.
What strategy is that? That's some good performance.
This is the Donchian channel strategy I was just showing you from SPXL, my leverage ETF strategy. It seems to work on this symbol as well.
Interesting. I mean, and if you look at the win percentage is only 41%, but I mean, there's massive outperformance.
Yeah, but the problem with this strategy is there's a 56% drawdown.
Yeah.
Right. But like, look, we can go in here and say, okay, let's cut any position that's under 4% stop loss, right? They're not going to make money if they go down 4% ever. So let's just cut them out entirely. Let's see what that does. It made it worse. So like sometimes you end up playing with it a bit before you find something that improves it. What if we add like call it, our biggest loss is 7%. So maybe we add a 3.5% trailing stop. We can keep iterating and experimenting with it until we find something that seems to perform better. That completely kills the strategy. This is a volatile stock. We can just remove it and run it again. Right. And
so that's why it's not working, because it's such a volatile stock that if you keep the stop loss too tight, you'll just keep getting stopped out and you'll miss the big ones.
I'm not spending a ton of time on this right now. Like normally you would want to dive in and say, okay, scroll back. Where am I losing trades? In terms of building bots, one of the biggest rules is most risk management happens at entry. Right. At least that's something I found. So avoiding entering a bad trade is better than getting out of a bad trade. So like you would add filter conditions. Maybe, you look back and you see that like, okay, most of my losing trades occur under this 20 EMA or 100 EMA. So maybe I would add a condition, say only trade if price is above that EMA. Right.
Gotcha. Okay.
So like you would spend time like studying the results. I'm just kind of moving fast to show like what you can do. But there's obviously like, if you want to build a real strategy, you got to invest some effort into it. What's good though is nothing is bright red here, meaning with the RR of 2.19, meaning you're making 2.2 times what you're losing, right? And a win rate of 41%, you have a profitable strategy, right? Already. So like now it's a question of, can you manage the drawdown? Can you give up some of that profitability right, to manage the drawdown. What is the distribution? Like, how repeatable is it? This little chart here where I'm moving my mouse, I don't know if you can see this, is distribution of winning and losing trades. You can see a lot of the gains. There's some big winners in this strategy, right? But your average gain is just 5.25%, and your average loss is just 2.4%, right? So your average gain is 0.7%. You're trading a lot of small.
What's a good goal to have for average gain versus average loss?
So like our ratio of 3 is really nice, because I think you only need to win 30% of your trades to be profitable.
Okay.
And there's I'm not sure if it's in this article. There's an article somewhere on our blog that has a really nice chart on it. It looks like a curve, just curving down. One axis is your win rate, and the other is your risk versus reward ratio. I'm sorry, your reward versus risk ratio. I always say it backwards. Right. And the higher your RR, the lower number of trades you need to win. There's strategies where you can lose 90% of the time and still be profitable. Right. Because when you win 6-7 times more than what you lose every time you lose.
Do these strategies work best on ETFs, individual stocks, or does it really depend on the strategy?
Depends entirely on the strategy. Right. Depends on the user, their strategy, the time period. I mean, it's just like any other strategy, right? Your strategy probably doesn't work great on the 1-minute chart, right? So I think it depends a lot on what the user is trying to do.
And some stocks are obviously just so volatile that they're harder to trade within a strategy, or not necessarily.
Depends on a strategy. You may have a mean reversion strategy that needs volatility, right? And you may trade the reversion back to the mean at extremes. There's I don't know, do we have it in here? No, we don't. There's a really nice indicator called the vortex indicator that can be used this way. It's technically a momentum indicator, right? But when vortex is at its extremes, right? Like, it's symboling a possible reversal, a mean reversion, right? The mean being both lines of the vortex being kind of in the middle. So like you can use that to trigger a mean reversion strategy that uses this, maybe Bollinger Bands, to take advantage of volatility. It's all on what you're trying to do. The point of the tool is to be flexible so that no matter what your strategy, you can express it in the tool.
And you can use these strategies, these bots, to set up signals or even sell orders, meaning you're going to short a position, right?
Yes. Currently, a back test can only be long or short, but your commands to SignalStack can be short when it says long. Like you can contrary in your own strategy if you want it to be goofy in that way.
Okay.
So it's totally capable. We are adding hybrid long short strategies fairly soon. The strategy tester in general is getting a lot of investment and attention from our team because it's one of the most powerful things in the platform, and it's something we wish more traders would use. This can save people so much in losses by just test what you're going to trade before you trade it.
And taking some of the emotion out of trading.
Yeah. And like a bot is awesome because you don't have to use the webhook and the auto trading part of it. It can just be your alert. It can just post to your phone, right, and let you know. So like it can get you comfortable with a strategy, and then you can later just go in and click the box and copy and paste some webhooks and make that bot a live trading thing. So it like gives you a way to back test, forward test, and fully automate however you want. Like however you feel comfortable.
What else do you want to talk about before we wrap up here? I mean, this is a lot of information, so I'm assuming anyone that's interested in this is probably going to watch it a couple times. Anything we left out?
I mean, I could ramble about TrendSpider for days. This thing has 5 years of our blood, sweat, and tears. It was built initially for very selfish reasons. I just wanted a way to build bots of my own without writing code, and we realized that if we let people in, it'll become a more robust product. People will help fund its development, make it self-sustaining, and give us ideas and suggestions and requests. It's now TrendSpider is like millions of lines of code. It's a team of 30 people, of which probably 25 actively trade, including our CTO and me. Russ, our CTO, was an early TradingView employee, so he brought a lot of lessons from that along with him before we built this product. And we just want to build cool tools that level the playing field. So if you guys like it, please try it. Support our work. Let us know what you think. Any criticism is very welcome because that's how we improve.
I mean, I can't even think of any criticism for TrendSpider. I mean, I use it a lot too, and I probably don't even know 90% of its capabilities or functionalities. You know, I mean, I know what works for me and I tend to stick with it, but there's probably so many indicators in there and, you know, different bands and, you know, ways to dissect a chart that would be over my head anyways.
It can get a little crazy. I love shooting this away because this is totally crazy looking. This is automated trend line detection with no filters, right? And we can get even crazier. Like we can go to one of these styles that picks up a ton of lines. Oops, hold on. That's my problem. Ignore gaps. It'll detect up to 2,000 possible trend lines on the chart. And then you can customize it. So you can be like, hey, okay, great, you found 2,000. Filter out all of them except the ones where price never broke through them and it bounced off them 5 or more times, right? So you can have it like draw things for you, do things for you, calculate things for you. And like everything's about speeding you up so that you're able to act more confidently with better information and be more competitive as a result.
How do you guys come up with this stuff? Like who comes up with the idea to draw 2,000 lines on a chart and then create all these filters?
Well, the idea was to actually make it so it's flexible so users can customize it. So users can actually define the exact rules for picking up which trend lines. Based on those rules, we wanted to just find a way to find relevant lines people care about, right? So like this is one of the unfiltered views. It's much simpler. Right. And we just had to think like, how do we get to this? Right. How do we filter down? Because we knew if you show the same chart to 10 people, you get 10 different sets of trend lines, right? Nobody sees charts the same. So like, it was like, how do we systemize this so it can be customized, but be consistent and not miss anything? And that was just a method that engineers came up with. We are definitely doing some like AI related stuff in the future, but this isn't even AI. This is just simple math. Right, it's rules and math and discipline, which are things that humans suck at.
Where do you hire your engineers from? I mean, because you must have some really great guys on the team.
So we're a almost entirely remote company. Russ and I, our CTO, are in Chicago. Our team spans 11 countries and 9 states. Wow. Maybe I got that reversed. Maybe it's 11 states and 9 countries. But wherever they can, we source a lot of our engineers who work in this product from the crypto world, because there's a lot of great engineers that came up during crypto that really like doing cool stuff. And then we try to only hire engineers who have traded something before. We don't care if they're like a super active trader, but we want them to have felt the pain, right? So a lot of them have traded crypto, right? Which makes sense because we target the crypto world for recruiting.
If you've traded crypto, you've probably felt some pain at some point or another too.
Yeah.
Do you trade crypto at all?
No, I hodl crypto. I do buy Bitcoin and Ethereum on dips and I stick it on a hard wallet and I want to hold it for 10 years. And it's either going to go to 0 or it's going to go to $1 million a coin, right? I very much don't like trading crypto. I do like trading leverage ETFs and I'm starting to dabble with futures a bit. Those I choose because unlike stocks, they're simpler and they are the market, right? So I don't need to worry about like entity specific events, bad earnings, bad news, right? Things like that. They're very liquid. And on a lot of brokers, you can trade them 24 hours, right? Like on TD Ameritrade, you can trade SPY and certain ETFs 24 hours, 5 days a week.
Wow.
Futures the same, right? And that means I can run a bot that trades while I sleep. Right. And I just want to systemize things, right? Like
which you can with crypto as well.
Yeah, you can. Crypto sucks. I'm not a huge fan of crypto. Maybe it's because I've made some very bad crypto decisions, like selling my Bitcoins at $100. That I'm just jaded on the whole thing.
So I've never done anything with futures. Can people access futures through TrendSpider?
Yeah. There's an exchange fee upcharge. I think it's $7 a month or something for the data. But once you pay for that, you get all of the futures data from the CME, CBOT, NYMEX, and COMEX.
And is it just the indexes that trade?
No, there's thousands of contracts, commodities, indices, certain structured ones. Like there's a lot of futures data in here. We have a close partnership with the CME, right? So we have a number of contractual advantages over other vendors with futures data. Like you don't need to have an active futures trading account to get futures data in TrendSpider. That's a unique thing about our arrangement. Every other platform technically does, although most don't enforce it. We also get access to 4 exchanges, right, in a bundle for our users. Most places you're getting like the CME futures alone. You're not getting all 4 of them. A nice thing is if you do happen to have a TrendSpider discount, it applies to your futures data as well.
And which platforms are best for trading futures? I'm with Interactive Brokers right now, and
Me too. I use IBKR. It is the best for pretty much trading anything. And by the way, we're in the middle of the final steps of a partnership with Interactive Brokers, where you'll be able to buy SignalStack signals directly from TWS from your balance, right? So you're going to say like, hey, I need some automated signals on SignalStack, and you just buy it straight in IB at a discount, right, to the retail rate.
So I could trade. I mean, I don't see this happening tomorrow because I don't know much about the futures market. I'd probably have to do some educating of myself, but it is interesting that you could use bots to trade futures essentially 24 hours a day.
They're so liquid. You know,
you do see, like, I feel like I see more people on Twitter talking about futures now than ever before. Maybe that's why, because we're all addicted to trying to make money, and that gives you a chance to trade, you know, during non-exchange hours.
I think it has more to do, think about what's happened over the last 18 months, right? So like you had the bull market, during which you had the COVID pump, and then the stimulus and inflation pumps, right? You had like the market go fly for 18 months. A lot of people got into trading who, and specifically when I say trading, stock picking, who probably had no business doing so, right? And the ones that blew up and probably left. The ones that are around are starting to mature as investors and traders. If you want to be an active trader, futures are, in my opinion, in a lot of people's opinion, a far superior asset class, right? They have inherent leverage like options, but they trade kind of like securities, right? Like you don't have to worry about all the theta and the Greeks and all that stuff with futures. They also now come in minis, right? And micros, or I'm sorry, minis are the big ones. I never understood why I call them minis. But they now come into micro lots, right? The like much smaller contracts, so they're also more accessible. I think it's just a natural kind of progression. Like there's a reason why indices are popular with traders, right? Futures the same way, except it's very liquid. Futures have some unique tax treatment, right? Like there's definitely differences in a number of ways. But for an active trader, they're almost a perfect asset class.
I mean, I honestly don't know much about them. I've never traded them. I've never really followed them. And of course,
I feel like all these guys who are stock pickers realize how hard it is to stock pick and realize they want to trade indices. And then from there, they realize they want to trade futures. Right? You know, like I think it was like a slippery slope type of thing.
Oh man, I don't know if, I mean, stock, I do love stock picking. You know, you have your wins, you have your losses along the way. You know, last year and a half has been rough for a lot of people. Some of us have kept our head above the water, you know, thanks to stocks like Celsius. Well, Dan, thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it. I learned a lot. I mean, I still feel like I'm still trying to digest everything you just told me. I think the only way to really do it is to jump in and start doing some of the back testing and put some of these bot signals together and see where they get me. I know I have a SignalStack account. Is it just that simple? I mean,
if you want, I'll hop on and we can do it together. I can walk you through setting it all up. You can record it if you like and just blur out your account info if you want to show people like the actual way it works. But I promise you, and I promise everyone watching this, it is not rocket science to automate strategies or even create strategies. It's surprisingly easy. You just need to kind of feel around for a few minutes and then you'll realize, you know, how to do it. And if you speak trading, like if you can describe like you did to me, like 100 EMA, it bounced right off it. If you can say something like that, you can express it in TrendSpider with just clicking on stuff.
Wow. That's it. I mean, it's powerful if you know how to use it.
Yeah. For those watching, we have free training, or we have training services and one-on-one help sessions. So if you get stuck, we have this thing called office hours where you can get a quick 15-minute Zoom to get someone to just help you with something, right? Kind of on the spot.
Awesome.
So
Dan, thank you so much, man. Once again, thank you for creating TrendSpider as well. Definitely a incredible product you guys have built. I mean, I feel like every week I'm seeing announcements on, new features that are being added. So you guys, you've built quite a team there. So congratulations on that. And let's do this again sometime.
Anytime, man. I'm here when you need me.
Once I get up and running with SignalStack, once I get a better feel for it, maybe we can come back on and I'll share what I've learned and you can tell me what I'm doing wrong.
Deal. Sounds like fun.
Okay. Thanks, Dan.
All right.
Talk to you soon.
Take it
Bye.
easy.